Hey ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday, November 10th, 2010, and this is Day 9 Daily number 214. Whoops. It's the 214th Day 9 Daily. We're going to be doing Tarson versus Madfrog. Now, it is Wednesday, and ordinarily that means it's Friend Day Wednesday, but of course, this week is just straight up good old classic, normal, regular, unadulterated analysis, no weird fun activities, no theme days to get in the way of our appreciation of kick-ass people being kick-ass at Starcraft 2. Now, for the record, I've had a lot of complaints and issues with the following. For a lot of people on Blip TV, it seems to be the case that you cannot seek. In other words, you cannot move forward or rewind. So some people will watch half a daily, and then they'll click again for the second half the next day, and it won't load properly. And a lot of people have been going, I hate Blip, it's the worst thing in the universe. Actually not Blip's fault, as a matter of fact. It's actually something going on our end. Basically, when you used to get the file from Ustream, in other words of what the live people are watching right now, it had no metadata. So you had to use a metadata injector to sort of give it the actual information. And metadata, once it's there, that's what lets you seek. That's what lets you move around. But Ustream changed the way that they store and encode their FLVs. So suddenly our metadata injector seems not to be working, and we're trying to figure out why. So now that we're aware that 100% it is something in that general theme, we're going to try to fix that. But until then, don't hate on Blip TV. They're so nice. We heart Blip TV. Thanks, Blip TV. In other exciting news, it's also a million years behind on YouTube. That's totally my fault. I can tell you why there's no videos on YouTube. It's because I haven't uploaded them. I'm going to be uploading 207 tonight. 209 and 210, 208 are up there right now, but there was a problem with 207. Once that's up there, it'll start going and it'll be coming out real rapidly. So, hey, sorry I was out of town for a billion years. I was at such fun events like MLG, ESL, BlizzCon, EG Masters Cup, MLG again, WCG Grand Finals, etc. And now I am here in my room devoted to spending time on an editor, bringing you entertainment in, of course, HD resolution. Alright, let's go ahead and go into the game. Let us go into the game. We have Madfrog, a Zerg player who's super good. He was well known in the B-Dub, the War 3 and the SC2. We have Tarson, who was known in the B-Dub. And that's about that. Now, for any of you who don't know about Tarson, Tarson might not be as known as other players. I would say that Madfrog's probably better known than he is. But he's a pretty typical Terran player, but he always has a little bit of a modern edge to what he's doing. Like, he does things that very few Terrans do, and then all of a sudden, the strategy you saw Tarson doing a week ago, every Terran is doing, and then Tarson's doing something else. It does kind of have a nice little fresh edge to Terran play. Always willing to sort of push the front. Madfrog is a player who I've seen just kind of do, I would call it kooky, I guess, nutty. Nutso Zerg. He does a lot of creep spreading, a lot of expanding, not to his natural first. I mean, again, he kind of has those same themes, like Zergling speed is good, getting up other things is good, so on and so forth. The same basics, but again, has sort of a Madfroggy twist to it. So I was pumped to see when these players played a relatively long game on this map. Now, I'm actually going to pause and ask you, Sean, I'm going to ask you, why did I think that this was going to be probably an interesting topic, just because of the fact that it's about 30-minute long game? Let's think about that. Let's think, well, because it's Blistering Sands, right? It's Blistering Sands. The thing to note about this map, this big, scary backdoor rock creates so many problems for Terran early. In fact, almost every game at MLG where a Terran lost to a Zerg on Blistering Sands, it was because the Zerg knocked this down kind of early and just busted in there for a big-ass, easy old win. And more importantly, games tend to end around the 20-minute mark after that. It tends to be Terran either doing a big push and winning, or Terran doing a big push, getting crushed, and that ends up being about that. So I wanted to see what made this game different. Just that time length got me a little bit intrigued. And again, I want to note that all my intriguement was just a factor of this backdoor causing so many early game problems. And you should definitely do that sort of stuff too. If you're always losing to bunker rushes as Zerg against Terran, anytime you see a 15-minute game, that should probably be of note to you. Or if you can't seem to get to the end game at all in PvZ and you see a long-term game, you should go, oh, how did they get there? So this is a very Madfrog-like thing to do, to send out, do a hatch on like 17. I mean, people are used to these numbers, like, oh yeah, pool on 14, hatch on 14. Maybe hatch first on 14 and pool on 16, but Madfrog does things at like 17 regularly. Oh, picking off an SCV, so that's great. Moving right along. So at this point in time, I don't see anything particularly noteworthy. We do see the Queen coming out. We don't even see any Lings that have yet begun. We do see Tarson. Okay, going for a factory and a relatively fast refinery. Now, I'm already kind of getting intrigued. This is the sort of thing that does end up losing a lot to early busts. They knock this down, and right when you're getting on your feet, as Terran getting ready to do some junk with Banshees or some junk with a tank push, suddenly your backdoor falls and you are having a crisis. So there's 4 links coming out, quite late links, but either way, good stuff nonetheless. There's the very fast second Queen, probably going to be marching directly to there. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything too out of the ordinary, but I'm really aware of Terran's play. I'm aware of this fragility. I'm kind of aware that the supply depot took a while to go down, but I don't care so much because honestly, this SCV was seeing everything that was going down. So let's see. And oh, okay. Hey, thank you, Firebound. Thank you. Thank you so much. Give him a happy face. Yeah, alright. Wouldn't be a day 9 daily, of course, without standard things. You know, and I actually will admit, I checked the sound before the game. Hey, look at that. That sound is enabled as shit. Yeah. Super duper enabled. But, always botched something else. Probably forgot to set to busy because I reloaded this replay. Whoopsie doopsie daisies. Ooh, double starport. Okay, cool. I'm mildly intrigued by this, but still, I'm a little concerned about these roaches coming up. Because very, very soon is about the time when your Zerg buddies begin putting a little bit of pressure on. But I do want to note that Zerg scouted the front. This is something that I always say. But not a lot of people take me seriously. They're like, oh, he just has fun when he's doing these. No, scouting the front, so important. He scouts the front. And if I scout the front and I don't see an add-on here and I see one Marine, I almost always go, hurt Banshee. Or some sort of funky mech business. But almost all funky mech business begins with a Hellion. Hellion trying to poke out, do a little bit of damage. And really, I kind of like just classify it into the Marines, Marauders, that sort of garbage. Or if I see a Hellion, I kind of go, aha, it's some sort of Banshee, some sort of tech. I mean, pretty easy to do that little grouping together. Alright, I'm still looking around. This still looks actually kind of unusually typical from both players. I would say that Tarson's doing something kind of cool. 2-port Banshee on this map could cause some problems, but it looks like Tarson's ready to hold down in boss mode. I don't think he's going to be able to kill that Overlord per se. Will he be getting any cloak? I still don't see that. Banshee's coming out right now. We're already at the 6-minute and 11 mark. Wow, that's kind of far down the line. There's a layer going down. Has there even been any Roche production? No, it doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. Okay, there's the evolution chamber. Now, I would like to state for the record that we're at the 6-minute and 30-second mark. Alright, screen, thank you for stopping scrolling. Great. We're at the 6-minute, 30-second mark, and ordinarily up to this point in a game, I tend to sort of, you know, alright, let's kind of move it along. Alright, okay, he's doing a usual early expand to Zerg. Okay, cool. But, again, you heard my intrigue at the start of the game. Blistering Sands is a map where Terran struggles quite a bit early on because of the back door. The back door. The back door that we love so much because there's a sexual insinuation to it. Yes, the back door that causes so many problems. Well, that's going to depend a lot on the early openings, so that's why I'm actually spending so long on this. I have not watched this replay in advance as I have done with several other replays that we do here on the daily, but I am very, very, very careful this one to sort of go through a little bit more slowly. So I actually have a good sense of what Terran's doing. I mean, with 2-port Wraith, there's not going to be too much deviation, but I really want to do some good poking in on the Zerg front. I'm disappointed to see a significant lack of creep going on between these two bases. I mean, I even think we kind of had enough. Expanding this way, I think, is not nearly as important as joining your main and your nat first, just because you really, really, really want those queens up. And this is something that I kind of don't like. Double Spore Crawler. I have been increasingly a fan of a single Spore Crawler plus insane queen range. I actually delay my layer a little bit. Yeah, this is the sort of thing I like a touch more. I guess it makes sense to have the double spore crawler in the main, because we're not joined up with creep yet. There's no way to reinforce. And of course, there's the 2-port Banshee coming down right now. I do note an Expo, Attack Lab, other I guess, formalities, yes, other unimportant things. But yeah, it looks like, whoa, hey, nice little save there, and nice resave. That was excellent. Is he making more queens? It doesn't look like it quite yet. The layer's done. Yeah, I guess Tarson's not really going to do too terribly much. Just going to try to do this harassment. We also see Stim going down, Mariners being made, Barracks going down. We just heard a transfuse. And more drones coming up. Okay, so I think that the reason we're not seeing any sort of early pressure from Madfrog is pretty clear. With this many Banshees, and if you're just going straight up Ling Roach, it's going to be pretty impossible for anything to really happen with those. So I actually kind of like this opening from Tarson on this map, because the big problems that you always have, other people always have too. So look at people who have solved that problem. Amazing example of this. On Blistering Sands, we lose a lot to pushing and pressure at the back door. We don't want that to happen. So when you see something like Liquid Jinro defeats Liquid Ret at MLG in a tournament setting on Blistering Sands, you go watch that friggin' replay. And when you watch that, Jinro's solution was to go for a 1 barracks, very, 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 very fast stim. Just 1 barracks, get Attack Lab, then get stim, and then make more barracks. Just like straight up stim. And afterwards, straight up combat shield. And when Ret inevitably knocked down the back rocks, cool, there is a ton of units there. That's one end of the extreme. You let the rocks kind of get knocked down, but you have such a huge army, you just shove that right back. But in this one, this is a very good sort of, I'm not going to let the rocks go down in the first place. I think some incorrect ways to deal with the lock problem on Blistering Sands would be to do something like build 2 bunkers at your back rock. Because too often it's people getting a little too defense-minded and not thinking as much about pressure back on the opponent. I'm trying to think if we can get some more examples of that. So, like, if you built bunkers at the back of your destructible rocks, they could probably still kill it with roaches. So it still didn't quite address the issue. But if you had 2 bunkers there and you loaded them up with Marines, sure, you'd be safe. But what if he just saw that with an Overlord and never attacked it? You'd be in huge trouble. And your front's going to be less defended as well. What about if we did something like got siege tanks really fast on Blistering Sands? Well, again, we get siege tanks, we siege up at our destructible rock. He runs up, gets shot at, loses 1 ling and says, oh, his tanks, and backs up and does everything totally normally again. What are other solutions I can think of that don't work? Pretending that the back door doesn't exist. Like if we just go like 1 barracks Reaper, then early expand, and then kind of add our barracks and try to play normally, and we kind of get the usual late stim. That's exactly what happened in Sen against QXC, Game 3 at MLG. And you know what happened? Sen killed the back door and just killed QXC. Dunsies. No problem at all. So the reason I like Jinro's build, again, it deals with it in a direct fashion. If it knocks down, then I have a huge army that not only can kill that, but also can swing back and put a lot of pressure on. Notice that we're not just defending, but we're figuring out a way to put pressure back. Or in Tarson's case, if I have all these Banshees, I can kill them. But I can prevent it from getting off the ground. I can prevent it from happening in the first place. I think those are some great, great, great solutions. Other little examples of this would be like, if you're having problems with drops, get a whole bunch of Mutalisks. Because, hey, he's never even going to want to do a drop in the first place. Because if he does, he's just going to get absolutely pwned. I said pwned. He got pooned, man. He got ballooned. Friggin' spoon harpooned, man. And Madfrog, I think, is doing a wise decision. Whoa, double hatch. All right, that's nuts. This is, again, a very Madfrog-esque thing to do, to add a little bit of excessive hatcheries here. I don't like getting early evolution chambers for spore crawlers unless we're also upgrading out of them. I generally avoid doing that. I do understand this decision to get the double hatch. I prefer a single additional hatch, but the logic behind it is, if these Banshees are going to be all over the map, For the same reason that getting Zerglings and Roaches, or for the same reason that it prevents Zerglings and Roaches from going to these destructible rocks, these Banshees will also prevent you from expanding anywhere, because they'll just do this shit. And as you'll note, said shit is annoying. Oh my god, getting two-shotted. Hey, this is a pretty cool opening by Tarson, don't you think? Mulists are coming out right now. This Banshee's fun is going to be shut down. I think it's done a pretty adequate amount of damage. He's still making Banshees. Oh, it looks like he's transitioning to big marine production. Very, very cool. Well, that sucks. Alack, as they would say in Shakespearean times. Oh, my hatchery, alack. So there, it looks like he's still losing drones. Tarson doing the right thing, suiciding these. They're definitely gonna die, so may as well turn around and attack. Oh my god, doesn't that sound obvious? If your units are 100% gonna die, then stop microing, stop trying to run, just kill everything. You'll see this happen a lot with, like, Marines that are running away from a bunker rush, trying to get back home. Oh my god, there's Zerglings behind me! Run! But it's like Metalopolis, so it's going to be a century before you get back home, but people still keep on running. Don't, just tell that bad boy to whip around, get 2 shots off. Yeah, might kill a Marine, might kill a Zergling or 2, but you're still going to lose that Marine at the end of the day. No matter what. So good little suicide there by Tarson. I think he's done some damage. Yeah, it looks like he's a little bit ahead. So now I want to talk about the beauty of transitions. The beauty of this little play by Tarson. The fact that he got stim immediately on that barracks when he could afford it, and then immediately got a bunch of Mariners. You'll notice that he almost has the same situation that you just heard me oogle over Jinro about. Jinro rushed for stim and combat shields, so that way, when this destructible rock got down, he had stim, upgraded Marines, ready to rock and roll. Same identical idea going on here. Madfrog going to try to move in for a little bit of pillaging. He will be repelled. Medevac will triumphantly march forward for a suicide. Vikings you do not want to have leading the force. You kind of want to have back behind your force. But either way, I really like this play by Tarson. I like poaching your turrets forward like that, like having a turret here and here. You could make a turret, like one turret here, but I just recently have been in the mood for this. I haven't thought too much about it, so maybe I can articulate that better at a later time, but hey, whatever. So look at this great build by Tarson. I'm really starting to see why this game went so long. He dealt with the early pressure on the destructible rocks by going Banshees. No chance at all of anything even being able to knock it down. Zerglings and Roaches would not stand a chance. The Banshees would knock it down immediately. And you'll even note that for the most part, Tarson was bouncing the Banshees around this area. He was really not trying to go in this general area at all. I think that's pretty significant. And then right when the Banshees die, Tarson is on the move out again. Right? Because I still freak out and worry about these destructible rocks at all. Now, I want to state right now, I want to state an optical illusion. I might seem clever right now. It might seem like I'm a smart dude. But allow me to just dispel that immediately by noting that all I'm doing is tying every one of Tarson's moves back to my fear. And if he's not helping quell my fear, then I'm going to say I don't like that. And if he's doing something that does help me feel nice and warm and happy as a Terran on this map, then I'm going to go, oh, ain't that brilliant. Right? It's not like I've had years of, or it's not like my years of RTS experience are making me realize that, oh, the Banshees are good and this Marine push is good. It's just me going, God, I hate destructible rocks getting knocked down and losing. God, that drives me crazy as Terran. Oh, Banshee harass. Does that help deal with that? Yes, it does. Yes, indeed. Oh, do Marines help me deal with this? Yes, it does. And anytime Tarson ends up not having all that great pressure that's going to help defend that backdoor rock, I'm going to start feeling concerned. And he's very smartly picking off some of these Queep Tumas. Looks like he's going to be doing another little push. Uh-oh, there's the scan. Oh, Banelings. Don't do this. Don't you dare do this. Don't you, with your key units halfway done to morphing, send in all your other units to die. And then when the Banelings finish, go, oh, alright, great. Cool, now I'm safe. You just threw away 10 units. Don't do that. Don't do that. This is actually something when I was watching HD Starcraft's game at MLG. He was doing a lot of great stuff. He was actually looking like your reasonably talented Diamond Zerg, right? He was looking great. but it was something like this. This is actually one of the most common unit, or I would probably call it attack defense things. You know what Madfrog should be doing? Pulling these Zerglings here, and pulling these Mutalisks here, and just trying to make sure these don't get stimmed and killed. But instead, the suicide? Oh no. Oh no! Oh my god, oh. And this is, it's an easy thing to say. I'm not going to do that anymore. It's surprisingly hard in execution to train yourself not to do that. But I just want to state for the record, friggin' train yourself not to do that, guys. Seriously. Because now suddenly this force, which initially would have lost if Madfrog was attacking all together, is winning. Because Madfrog was attacking one at a time. Hey, more Mariners. I love this. This is great. Making only Marines. Oh, no siege tanks at all. Have you ever watched all the GSL Terrans play against Zerg? You see them getting siege tanks. You even watch great Europeans like De Muslim and Jinro play. They get a lot of siege tanks. Why would he not be getting siege tanks on Blistering Sands? Think. Hey, maybe let's go back to the one fear I've been talking about all game long, the destructible rocks. Yes, destructible rocks. The instant I get a siege tanks say, I will defend this area. And that's it. So if I have siege tanks here, siege tank, and some Marines right here, great. That area is locked down. Or as I like to call it, not my back door. Right? The instant you get siege tanks, you have a hard time controlling lots of faraway positions. This is far away from this in siege tank terms. And this are especially far away from that gold. So I love that he's going Mariners. Oh, look at those all reactor barracks. That's so glorious. That's so cool. And I can also now think of some extra uses. Sure, it can knock down these destructible rocks. Sure, there's some good places to micro. You could probably control these Zelnaga towers and shut down some unit movement adequately well. But at the same time, all I really care about is this big thing. That's what I really care about. Anything else I'm going to think of as a bonus. I'm not going to try to think of my units as accomplishing 15 different subtle things at once. Generally, units serve a couple of really big purposes. Bam, pow, boom. That's a period in time where I really think if he just stayed and shot instead of trying to be fancy with micro, he would have done more damage. But whatever, ever. Good little movements by Tarson, moving down here and then checking up this top side. Part of the reason why I dislike Madfrog getting 4 hatches is notice that he's having, like, insane amounts of larvae. I don't like that too much, but more banelings coming out. We have some spore crawlers up here, a little relic from the past, and it looks like just Mariners and medevacs. Here's another little stim push. Still think he should be going for this area, as he will have a little more room to micro in. Just scan, kill off creep tumors. Oh wow, that's kind of a forward spore crawler. That's a little unusual. I think that was perhaps one of the worst movements I've seen all game long. Tarson's been doing good stuff, but I want you to just for the record, note, why are you sending your whole army up here? What if you get here and it turns out there's an army here? Oh hey, everything has no room to micro. Just stim one Marine, send him up, and then back down. Really pretty bad to send your entire force up there. I actually really dislike that. And hey, now siege tanks going down. I can get behind that. Siege tanks are a good unit. We like siege tanks, but we don't want to rush to siege tanks because of all the reasons I spent quite a while flipping out about not long ago. I mean, siege tanks are a good unit by all means, so it's quite good that he is getting them. More Mariners being made, and extra engineering bay going down. Makes a lot of sense. He loves Mariners. He's getting Mariner ups. Wants to make sure his ups can continue. There's some Evo chambers going down. Wow, is he really going? Did he really forget that he had an evolution chamber? Uh-oh. That's kind of a no-no. And you know, it feels like the traditional method of Terran versus Zerg, or excuse me, Zerg versus Terran is kind of getting, or traditional notions of the way that this matchup's supposed to work is getting turned on its head in this game, because Tarson appears to have been getting himself into quite a dominating position. In fact, so much so that it's 161 versus 106. Now, I just want to briefly note, I'm actually curious how, oh yeah, I see the time in the bottom corner, 17 minutes. Looks like I open up the properties menu. Alright, great. Gonna go ahead and click on Starcraft and then hit P to unpause. There's destructible rocks going down. Fantastic. Flood. It lands, and now Madfrog is gonna have a little bit of trouble encroaching. Oh my god, my back door! Oh, I'm freaking out. And it looks like he's pulling back. Oh, yes, please. Oh, damn it. Why'd you have to scan, Tarson? Oh, come on, dude. That would have been so awesome. Oh, goodness, would that have been the coolest thing in the universe. And I actually think that right now, at this point in time, by Tarson is pretty smart. Pretty damn genius, I would actually say. Because Tarson knows his opponent doesn't have this base, doesn't have this base, doesn't have this base, as we can even see from this little mariner. We have a lot of Marines. We have a good amount of medevacs. We have some tanks. Hey, tank position to sort of protect this. And we're taking this gold. How are we defending it? By having all our Marines right here, just sort of chilling. Now, honestly, it's the 18-minute mark. I'm going to tell you right now it's about a 30-minute game. Oh gosh, it doesn't end for another 12 minutes. Now, I would just like to state that if you were watching this game, especially not if it were a replay, if you were watching this and it were like a tournament or something, you'd kind of zone out, right, if you knew this food. Even if it were a replay, you'd probably be like, all right, let's go to +8. This game is over with. But this is actually the point where most, I would probably say the platinum-ish to low diamond players, this is where that skill range suffers the greatest tragedy, which is being in the lead and having no clue what to do with it. Right? Doesn't that sound silly? When you have a lead, keeping it, right? That seems totally reasonable. But this is the thing. This is probably this might be the most important thing you hear on this fine Wednesday. When people tend to win games, it's because they had an attack that was designed to win the game, and they won with the attack. So, for instance, you'll see the Protoss player who gets like, let's say, 6 Colossi, a big gateway force against Zerg, and then starts marching forward. Okay, there's your army. I walk through that. I go over here. I kill your gold, and zoom, I go into your front, and you say GG. That is probably 90% of games, a timing push, or just a push in general. But here's a problem that a lot of people have. They'll get their big death army of their 6 Colossi and all their stalkers, and all right, we got into a battle. Okay, we traded army, or we kind of had a good exchange, but I came out ahead. Go up here, kill your goal, and now moving into your natural, and then you finally overrun me and kill me. But clearly, from Protoss' point of view, you killed a gold base, you killed most of his army, you're in a good position. You have a lead. Let's say you even have an expansion up and you're getting that expansion up. That's where most people kind of go, I guess I'll just try to do another big attack again. Yeah, right. The problem comes when you are in a situation like this. This is exactly what the spot Tarson is in. He did some big harassment with Banshees. He did some big pushing at the front with Marines and Marauders. And look at this lead. This is a clear lead. 3 base Terran versus 2 base Zerg. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at his macro. Nom, 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 nom. Macro. Is he even getting any sort of Hunter-Seeker missile? No, but that's okay. He's getting Ravens. Those are cool. And Madfrog is at 122 food. He's still on 2 bases. He accidentally made an extra evolution chamber. Oh, goodness, how things are going terribly. But this is where people will falter. And this is why it's so important that when you're at a stage like this to say, and what does Tarson do that is so smart to maintain this lead? First of all, he positions himself up very nicely, building sensor towers. You might even want to throw down a turret here, maybe build a sensor tower a little farther forward, maybe up here somewhere. He gets control of the Xel'Naga Watchtower. I really think he should have control of this Xel'Naga Watchtower. For the record, it's easier for the top player, that is for the blue player, to control the Xel'Naga Watchtower, this one here. And it's easier for Madfrog to contain this lower Xel'Naga. And it's all because the fact that this ramp points towards this back door. See how close they are? It's actually much harder to do the loop around the way that you would think. Very, very easy to go get this one. So he obviously, should. And here comes a nice little push. I'm actually going to do this real slowly. I slowed it down to as slow as possible. I want to, make sure I'm getting this. Okay. Is he doing anything weird? Well, he's getting his +2/+2 upgrades. That's great. I do see a factory coming down. I think that's quite good. We want to start getting more siege tanks as the game progresses, just so we can get better strangleholds on positions. Again, a siege tank is good at saying, I'm holding this position. So siege tanks are probably going to be useful when we're around 140 food and higher, because then we actually have a big army to reinforce this wide open space. If we're is an extreme example. If we're at 30 food and we start getting tanks and we're trying to cover 3 bases as Terran, we just can't on Blistering Sands. There's just not enough space. Or there's just not enough tanks to cover that much space. So I do like that he's sort of moving towards that. So here comes the push forward. Looks like he has Ravens there trying to cover those burrowed Banelings. Great. Let's see how he ends up defending this. Okay. I think I see what's going to happen. Yep, something along those lines. He's still doing good. This is why people really like Mariners in this matchup. Sure, you can lose a ton and end up, you know, eliciting a wow. Tries to do the happy face, but every time I see so that's the goal, happy face. That's actually a happy person. But every time I see that, I just imagine someone getting kicked in the mouth. That to me looks like a shoe. So Bane's so imba, bam, taking it right in the face. So even though Banelings will sometimes do that, this is why people love mass, huge Marines, is because even if you lose half your army to Banelings, this amount of Marines is going to just crush all this jazz. So now we're seeing Madfrog do a smart thing. Oh, hey, a counterattack. Great. Okay, cool. Now this is kind of some nifty stuff. You don't get to see this often, really. It's going to cause Tarson to end up pulling back. Now, let's begin thinking here, because again, this is very, very unusual play from Xur. Quite unusual. Don't over-intellectualize it. Don't. Counterattacking, or harassment in general, works well when you have few bases that are heavily defended, and he has a lot of bases that are thinly defended. There you go. Easy peasy. So, I mean, if you have 5 bases, and he has, if you have, like, 5 bases, and, you know, or, excuse me, if you have 2 bases, and he has, like, those 3 that are spread out, and the push is coming, the counterattack's probably going to end up being pretty damn good. If you can defend your front. We do see there are some infestors here. This is pretty good, this counterattack. Also, it's pretty close given how fast speed Zerglings are. Kind of got to be a little bit careful, teensy bit careful. So this is pretty nice. This is a good time buying exercise if you're against like a way more gigantic army. Notice I haven't said anything really about races. I'm saying this race should counterattack that race when this race is specifically doing this or specifically doing that. No, none of that jazz. Just, you know, if your opponent is trying to do a big attack, and these infestors can obviously delay because they have enough energy with the fungal growth, counterattacking can probably be something pretty good. Probably even counterattack down here if this were an orbital command. But it is not Planetary Fortress. I actually think that this almost always must be a Planetary Fortress in this matchup. And then Tarson forgets about half his medevacs. And here's the spread. Yeah, what a glorious spread that was. Ended up only getting hit by 3. And now Tarson, I think, is smartly just sort of chilling, sort of holding back. I would want to scan here after a little exchange like that. Now that I'm on the defense, now that I'm sort of holding tight, I really need to begin doing that. Madfrog's macro, not looking good. Looks like we have the that sort of speed upgrade for the attack, the adrenal boost. We see more upgrades going down. Do not get Ultralisks on 2 bases here. You do not have the gas to support it. Ultralisks are bad in really small numbers. Like if you have 3 or 4. But getting the adrenal gland, it's a very easy way to just pump up your already existingly good army. So, got to be a little careful. Even though this is easier to walk to, you definitely have to be a little bit concerned about the Mutalisks. But of course, Tarson, smartly, checking up there, trying to keep things alive. Again, stim 1 Marine, send it up there. Don't jam your whole army up there, because if you jam your whole army up there and oh my goodness, there's Mutalisks, you just get smashed. Or even if there's units on the outside, you don't want to be crushed. Hey, more little counterattacks, because our opponents have a lot of extra things to defend. That is the one issue with hitting attack directly on something. You end up with blunders like this. But Tarson, you know, he kills this, and you know what he does? He pulls right on back. So smart, so gradual, so gentle. He should be upgrading right now once he starts getting a little bit more gas. Looks like he's been clustering himself up on the minerals. Very, very smart. Just pulling back, doing more turtling intensive things. Sensor towers. Would love turrets getting thrown down here because we're just so high on minerals. Oh, that would be so great. Even getting some more ravens. Okay, cool. Ravens are good. I would really, as Tarson, just sort of chill back and focus on being a little bit more of an expansion killing force. And never forget the following. When you're maxed, make extra unit producing structures, because when you lose your whole army, You want to be able to remake your whole army, not remake Marines 8 at a time. Make extra unit-producing structures when you get maxed. Kind of why Zergs should continue vomiting larvae when they are maxed. It's because they can do... Oh, by the way, I'm going to coin this phrase now. I love coining phrases. I don't do anything artosis like, well, Viking flower. That's 4 syllables. I don't want to do that. A Viking flower. I like coining a term like poke. Yeah, that's my word. I take credit for that one. That's mine. No one's ever used poke before except for Dana. Yes. Yeah, you heard it here first. But here's the thing. This is what I call it. Remember how Zergs, like, get a maxed army, and then they keep adding larvae, keep adding larvae, keep adding larvae, and then they attack, but then continue massing in units. They just kind of hold 5 SR, and then they just keep sending roaches, so they never get unmaxed. I call that a 300 food push. Isn't that the best thing in the world? Yeah, just do a 300 food push. Because that really encompasses everything that's going on. So yeah, you want to do 300 food pushing models in your head for the other race. When you're maxed, you want to be making more and more capacity. So you can do some kind of 300 food push. I think that is the greatest phrase known to man. Dear people who are in the live stream right now, give me a thumbs up in the chat if you do indeed think that that is the coolest phrase known to man. Isn't that awesome? I'm so rad. I am rad indeed. Yeah, 300 food push. Alright, so there comes. Looks like Tarson is gently pushing up. Now, I love this. This is a more defensive push, right? This is great. I like this a lot. Covering this command center. And I cannot emphasize how this is one of the simplest tactics in any RTS game that people still just don't do. Attack in a way that defends your expansions. Yeah, do that. Do that, do that, do that. For instance, if you were expanding here, moving down and then right is really good. Moving directly down like this is okay. And moving up and then down is really awful. Expand so that you have a reinforced expo. And Tarson is being real slow with this, right? He's very gradually advancing forward here. Uh-oh, here comes Madfrog. Here he comes. By the way, notice we have barracks being made. Where are those barracks going down? Oh, yes, there we go. Yeah, Tarson. That's what I'm talking about. That is what wins games. That is how you maintain an advantage. That is a big thing. Oh, look at this. Gently inching forward. Do not get all Greetorp on me and then go, yeah, I've won this game, and then just start pushing forward. The most important skill in a lot of circumstances is to just maintain an advantage. Now, for instance, this, I have absolutely no idea what was going on here. If he was really worried about a counterattack, then for God's sake, just build a sensor tower here, or move up there, get vision. Don't move whole armies when all you need is vision. You just need vision in a lot of circumstances. Oh, yeah, reactors. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And now this expansion is vulnerable, right? Because we're no longer moving along that direction. So I'm going to speed things up. Tarson, I think, is only doing an okay job of keeping this advantage. We even see a Corvid reactor going down. Awesome. I'm pretty sure that's medevac energy. I'll actually double check on that. Corvid reactor. Oh, it's Ravens. Oh, it's the Caduceus reactor. Damn, that's the medevac one. I would have lost that Jeopardy question. So we do see an expansion going down here. We see a push up here. Whoops. Let's find out what happened. All right, great. A little too overeager. A little too overeager. Now, I just want to state for the record, if you have a huge lead, listen to this logic here. Listen to this. Check this out. If you have a huge lead, you can be a little more cautious, a little more slow, a little more methodical with those attacks. You just kind of need to be carefully scooping. Just put, okay, let's make sure all these flanks are held. Okay, that's good. All right, good. Now we're going to end up moving forward. I mean, in general, all your pushes should be, pretty reasonably fast, they should be pretty fast, but at the same time, they should be as safe as they can be. Or I should say they should be as fast as they can while still being safe. But this is something that tends to happen when you have a lead. You just kind of go, oh, he just got an expansion up. All right. And then you end up with this sort of cluster. And then as we slow down to normal, what happens when you get impatient? You get punished. You get punished. And things don't turn out really too good anyway. Now, for the record, That is a potentially game-ending blunder right there. Oh gosh, we're losing so many of our medevacs. Actually, point defense drones should have been thrown down there to help keep those things alive during the retreat. More Zergolingas going down. But for the record, we have so many barracks in production. Let me actually see where those barracks selected. Yeah, that's a lot of damn barracks. Churning out huge numbers of Marines. We don't really have a big army right now. And it looks like Madfrog is doing the big surround, but because we have such insane production, I think we're going to be okay. Now, really, this is a part where a lot of people end up slowly losing his terrain. They end up slowly losing because they don't have that 300 food push mindset. One production cycle, though, jeez, oh my gosh. Holy almighty freaking dude, man. It's a lot of Mariners coming out. And oh, look, we're already kind of remaxed again. That's what happens when you're smart enough to throw down a million extra unit producing structures. That way you can have a 300 food push style. So now suddenly, notice how this looks. We know our Zerg buddy doesn't really have that many Banelings yet, and at the very least isn't going to have that much energy. By the way, just poke up to the Zelnaga Watchtower, get some vision in there. Again, not being as cautious as he could be. Gotta be a little careful on the spread out. Gotta be a little careful. Yeah, I love Tarson being bold. Getting bold. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Oh no, oh my god. Alright, and he's spreading out. This is probably the worst place to be caught in the universe. Now start slicing Marines is what I call slicing, where you take a slice and say go here, and they take another slice and you say go here. Well, it's more like you take this slice and you say go there, and then you take this slice and you say go here. So that way they're all kind of running back, but they're fanning. And it's so easy to go one click, one click, one click. Look at him, one click, one click. Oh my gosh. No excuse for macroing poorly. Yeah, because then they inevitably just catch up because you're on creep and then you're in Crown Town. But I want to briefly check our unit producing. Oh, a lot of SCVs. But that's okay because we have enough unit producing structures. We can just keep barreling them with pressure. Now, this is actually very good by Tarson. With your first big push, you kind of want to be slow and methodical. But with your subsequent pushes, generally, your first big push gets killed by Zerg's power units, or the other race's power units. So that would be, you know, he loses a bunch of Banelings, but barely holds you off. Or he loses a bunch of Colossi, but barely holds you off. Or he loses a bunch of tanks, but barely holds you off. That's when you need to really start pushing forward. Because if you have 20 barracks, and you lose your whole army, and then you can go another 40 Marines, another 40 Marines, another 40 Marines. The power units, the Banelings, the Colossi, the tanks, haven't gotten time to rebuild. Very important that you understand that maxed logic. Tarson's still having a little bit of a struggle. I just like that passivity at this point. I do think that he probably could have ended up, pushing a little more aggressively there and doing some damage. Now, just for the record, you heard me say earlier on, I love this passivity by Tarson. I love this. This is great. This is a great way to keep your lead. Why is now different? Why is this a different period in the game? Well, this expansion is down. And that's about it. That's the big one. We're not really at an advantage anymore. So, 3 bases to 2 bases, pretty big advantage. 4 bases to 3 bases, not as much as an advantage. In the same way that 101 bases versus 100 bases is almost equivalent again, right? You're starting to see that. So now you're starting to kind of like get a little even, so you got to really drill into an opportunity. You got to do a max food push and then follow it up with a 300 food push, right? With subsequent rallies of units. Because what you don't want to have happen is your Zerg opponent suddenly defends and then masses up a pretty good amount of Banelings and then marches down and eliminates your planetary fortress with a big roll-in. And now this hatchery going down. Now Tarson's actually under a pretty significant amount of pressure. He's at 116 food, but needs to be a little careful. Oh, Bane Rings! Oh, run away! Be careful, be careful. You want to kill that planetary fortress. By the way, notice how kind of uncomfortable this is for Zerg to take this. He kind of has to roll around here, and if units just march up, they can kill it. That's why this is a little bit risky to take. And there's the scan by Tarson, and this is just kind of not the place you want to be in. We're seeing a little bit of disorganization of these units. It's kind of like moving up and then moving down and then kind of scooting left and scooting right, and oh no. Oh goodness. Not exactly the way we want to go. No. Madfrog now continuing to defend things. We could easily just make a whole bunch of Banelings out of that. That would actually be quite cool. Hasn't gotten 3-3 ups yet. Looks like our Zerg buddy has. Starting to sack some SCVs because we've mined out the gold. Great. Looks like Madfrog now starting to move in here. And notice how there was that window opportunity that Tarson had. And now, again, with a nice, slow, methodical push. Hey, Hunter-Seeker Missile. I don't know really what the main goal of that was, but that's awesome. I love Hunter-Seeker Missiles. Obviously trying to kill them Mutalisks, but hey, pretty cool regardless. Looks like he will get the good cleanup. And this is a good push. This is a great push. This is vulnerable. You know, I would actually... This is when it's important to re-rally. You're doing your big push here. Rally units here. You don't want to keep your rally here because here is already defended by your whole damn push. Rally there. You should be changing rally points all over the place based upon where units are pushing. Got to keep them exposed defendered. Defendered. And by the way, I've been saying this all game long, this Xel'Naga is very easy for Terran to hold. Look at how unbelievably easy it looks right now for Terran just to walk right up there and for Zerg to kind of be cut off from his glorious gold. In my honest opinion, the easiest expo for Zerg to take on this map is this base. After your natural expansion. And oh, we lacked patience a little bit. We weren't being careful with our positioning. And look how we get punished. It's my impersonation of lots of Marines dying. And it looks like we have more Ling Muta coming out. But interestingly enough, for the first time this game, it's looking really close in food, right? It's been about 112 versus 180 food. But Tarson's doing the right thing. The power units, the Banelings are dead. Go in for the push. Be careful about the health on your Marines. But still, go in there for the push, go in there for the kill. And it looks like, with all that low health, is Madfrog actually going to hold that? Oh my gosh. That would be a pretty incredible defense. But alas, no, and then here come the power units in to try to clean up. Hey, looks like the tanks finally did their job this game. That is fantastic. Do need to kind of be doing some scans for them infestors. And yeah, now Tarson's finally doing the cleanup. Oh, alright, what a relief. Woo! Oh, alright. Okay, cool. We did a game, we did a daily. So I kind of want to recap what I saw in that game. I saw a brilliant opening by Tarson. Oh, was that good, right? Oh, we get the Banshees, and that easily deals with the back door in the very early stages, and then we get the big Marine with stim numbers, and we do a little push, and that helps with the early mid-game stages. Then we just keep getting Marines. Oh, that really helps with just the straight-up mid-game stages. In fact, Tarson's backdoor rocks never fell because of that. 1, 2, 3. Banshees into really fast stim with some Marines into mass Marine production. That is favoring Marines over getting the factory. He said with an Elvis hairdo, yeah. But I do really like his decision to play a little more passively once he saw that it was 3 base versus 2 base. But once his opponent started to take that top left expansion, that's when he really needed to do some a little bit more intense drilling into that expo. Or even intense drilling into the main. A player is most vulnerable right when an expansion is about to finish because they've literally gotten no income from that whatsoever. That is really the most vulnerable spot. So that's when you really need to drill into your opponent with some sort of 300 food push or just a usual kind of timing push. But because Tarson was max, 300 food push is probably the best effective way to do it. And a lot of times, that first little push followed by the second wave is what really does it. So I like that. I was into that. Yeah. So the God Emperor says, Day 9, the Zerg player didn't seem to play too well. How do we know that the Banshee really was the key decision that helped on this map? Because it's intuitive. There's like, if a bunch of Zerglings and Roaches ended up marching up there, they would just kill. They would just be absolutely demolished. I actually want to go back to the very start of the game just to sort of rewatch that. And of course, for any of you who didn't know, the T button is what reloads to the start of the game. So let's go ahead and speed this bad boy up. And hopefully we can end up seeing it. I'm even going to actually remove my overlay here. Thank you, screen, for scrolling aside. Yeah, so notice that the Banshees are about to come out. The Roach Warren hasn't been finished for that long, really. So if he started to get Roaches right now, notice even the path that these Banshees took. They float right over the destructible rocks. Alright, let's even go to the Tarson cam. Floats right over the destructible rocks. Alright, cool, nothing there. Alright, gonna kill off this watchtower. Alright, now we're pushing at the front. try and do damage here. Let's see, where do these Banshees go? Now, they could potentially poke into the main, but they float right back, continuing to rally over here, continuing to rally. If there's any evidence that, oh my goodness, stuff's going down there, he'd re-rally. Look at the Banshees spread out here, spread out here, spread out here, continued just to poke at the front. Yeah, it looks like we're going to take some shots at our opponent's destructible rocks a little bit. Look at how often they're chilling at the front. They're just chilling at the front. Now we have 5. Where do we go? To the front. To the front. You see how they were almost all covering that door? It's not just the Banshees, but it's Banshees and that movement that I thought was awesome. Pope-tastic person says, Dear Day 9, you talked a lot about how Terran could defend his back door, but what about Zerg and Toss? How can they directly or indirectly keep it up? I appreciate you for doing these. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the appreciation. Yeah. But the thing that I would actually note is that for a lot of times for Zerg, it's not that big a deal. If I'm against a Terran and my back door gets knocked down, it doesn't actually change that much, with the exception of perhaps very early on if I'm relying on spine crawlers. For the most part, I'm relying on units. And on creep, I can get from my front to the back of my base very, 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 very quickly. So I don't really mind it too much. I think that a pretty good technique that you'll see a lot of people do is that for whatever race, whether it be Terran or Zerg, they will kill their own destructible rocks, move out this way, take this watchtower, and then take this expansion. Very, very, very good practice, because if you have this watchtower, you see everything that's coming out of his base. Very, 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 very good little move. Super, 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 super good. Oh, Gioin asks, Dear Day 9, between shields and stim packs, which is better? I think stim overwhelmingly. Like, not even close. I think stim is way, 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 way better. Early on, at least. I mean, if it was one of those builds where it's like, oh, the combat shield or the stim, I almost always want the stim, because if I'm in some sort of rut, I can always micro my way out of it. I will take 2 more questions, and then my throat is parched. That's why I will depart. Yeah. Eric's D-Man says, Dear Day 9, do you think that instead of massing reactors on his new barracks, throwing down a few tech labs and getting marauders to absorb the banelings would have been a good thing? Potentially, sure. I'm increasingly falling in love with the camp of people who really just only make Marines, though. Because, I mean, I think most people treat the Marines as like the real damage dealers in their army. Marauders kind of suck against like everything except roaches, really. So if you're getting a ton of Marines, the Banelings are probably going to wipe out 2/3 of them. But then your 1/3 kills everything else. It's like, yeah. Whereas if I'm going Marines and Marauders, the Marauders will be shooting, trying to kill the Banelings, and then the Banelings will kill all my Marines, and I have a huge load of Marauders that end up dying to their Mutalisks and Zerglings. Now, of course, all I'm describing is theory. Theoretically, you should be controlling everything properly, but I don't really mind. If you did something like got 4 tech labs and 2 reactors there and started churning out some Marauders and a lot of Marines, I think that would work. Maybe even if you did all tech labs, got a lot of Marauders, maybe that would work too. That would really definitely allow you to maintain that aggression. But I think it's something to consider. I don't think it's so blatantly obvious you should do one thing or the other. It's pretty close. It's pretty close. Ripper99911, I should take this in one more. Ripper911 says, how can Madfrog take out the Terran's planetary fortress? It seems like if he would have tried, he would have lost a lot of units and then been pushed to doom. Honestly, truly, the only way that I know that's super consistently effective to kill planetary fortresses is like 30 Banelings. Yeah, that's awesome. 30 Banelings just rolling into victory. Lead with 6 Lings so they absorb the first planetary fortress shots, but then rolling, and you can do all sorts of good damage. But notice the problem with that. If you do a big bust with all your Banelings and you kill a planetary fortress, the Banelings are your power unit. Without your power unit, you're very vulnerable to pushes. It's kind of like if there was some way you could suicide 6 Colossi to go kill a Zerg hatch, and you kill it, and then all your Colossi die, and you're like, yeah, I've got that hatchery. But now you're up against a Zerg without the 6 Colossus in your army. It's kind of risky. It's kind of risky. So one more question. Magic Kitten says, Dear Mighty Thought Hammer. That's me. I'm the Thought Hammer. Yes. Says, what do you think of as the main difference between applying constant pressure in the early game versus the late game? The big difference that I would say is that pressure in the early game is designed to limit build orders that he can do and limit his range of strategies and force him down certain veins. Easiest example I can think of, if I make Mutalisks early and I harass with them, and this is all in the early game, he either is going to have to make some Thors or he's going to have to make some Marines, and that's kind of it. Those are pretty much his options. So I've limited his options. I do not have to worry about big mass Marauder tank armies. I do not have to worry about tank Hellion pushes. I do not have to worry about big amounts of Banshees because I've limited the number of options that he can do. And I would say that the difference between that and late game is that in the later stages of the game, pressure really is to secure you more expansions and to try to limit the number of expansions he is having. That, I think, is the big thing. Early on, when you see like an early Marine push, I don't think it's to do any sort of, like, it's not, oh, he's not going to be able to take a third, even though he's just now getting his second operational. I don't really think that that's the main goal. It's more just like, I'm going to move out here, I'm going to force him to make units instead of drones. Oh, so that way I don't have to worry about someone who's going for some sort of really big army in the mid-game. That sort of thing. You're limiting the number of things you're going to be up against. And of course, you can do that in the late game, and in the early game, you can deny expansions with pressure. But still, I think that broadly speaking, in the late game, it's all about expansion, securing an expansion denying. In the early game, it's all about wiggling your left arm wildly and limiting your strategies. That wraps up the daily. I'm going to go get dinner. And in other exciting news, I am going to try to figure out the issues that are going on with the Blip TV encodes and the issues. And I'll just begin uploading to YouTube. It's totally my fault that YouTube isn't up, but gotta try to find what's going on with the Blip TV. Fun day Monday for next week. Monday at day9.tv. Submit a replay of you expanding exactly every 4 minutes. Expanding exactly every 4 minutes. You must build an expansion and can only build an expansion at 4 minutes, at 8 minutes, at 12 minutes, at 16 minutes. Monday at day9.tv. Send that to that location. I'm leaving. Goodbye.